Hello there everybody, this is Alex from Hardcoring Guides, being my guide for Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge on Master Ninja difficulty. Today we are doing Day 4, and as you can no doubt tell, this very specific scene looks very familiar. This is of course from Ninja Gaiden 1 when we're fighting that one particular boss on the blimp back then. But yeah, for these first parts of this specific chapter, we're going to be going back in time to a couple of locations that we've been to before, and for the most part just taking out, regular simple mooks. So, again, like I've explained in previous chapters, I'm going to try to put my focus, for the most part, at least on the guys that are jetting around. Typically, enemies that you can just end up shooting with a bow and almost instantly killing typically kind of get priority from me. I've explained that before, so if you have been following along, I might sound like a broken record, but I'm doing that for the sake of people that, don't watch it in order and just kind of go for a specific chapter, so I can try to help them out. Something else, too, for those that want to learn more about like specific things for like UTs, OTs and stuff, I have put that in the description before I started uploading all these. So if you are curious, you can always look in the description for like more advanced wording. I'd say advanced, but it's as advanced as I can get. But yeah, if you want to look for like more specifics on what those mean and what have you. So this very first fight is relatively simple enough. Of course, you do get a helicopter that spawns, but all you gotta really do against the helicopter is just, shoot at the missile launcher on the helicopter itself to try to break them to stop it from shooting you. And then just keep dodging left and right whenever you get the opportunity, and then just take it out with, a good few shots. It shouldn't take too long to kind of do, luckily enough, because he seems to not have much health on that one. And then once you start arriving into Ninja Gaiden 2's first level, now we're going to deal with more, the Black Spider Clan ninjas coming out to play. And I pretty much just kind of go for relatively simplistic combos, as in like square, 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 into, triangle, 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 to go for those types of moves. Or like that one right there. That's my full triple square to triple triangle attack. Azuna drops do work wonders, but it really kind of depends on the enemy you're going for, because a lot of the time the ones that use the claws typically end up blocking a lot of your attacks. And that's usually why I go for those specific combos. So for this very first part, strangely enough, this might be a new one for me, but I actually kind of don't really recommend going for UTs. Mainly because you don't have a lot of time in between having to, like, escape to start off a UT. The only time you really need to go for UT is if you get Bloody Rage, but that's really about it. And that's just Bloody Rage on its own, so. Yeah, I'd recommend just going for Azuna drops, if you can land them, and of course, going for basically just combos and just go for D-limbs, and try to manipulate Steel on Bones, which again, of course, manipulating Steel on Bones, you could charge a UT. That was a counter right there for those that are wondering. That was a triangle counter. You block and then press triangle before they about hit, and that's pretty much how you pull that off. Yeah, so Steel on Bones, you can kind of like manipulate them to get them come out. Basically just charge a UT, and they'll try to like attack you during it. D-limb an enemy, they'll most likely go for it, and just try not to attack too much, and they'll eventually give up and try to hit you with a red unblockable, so that's that. I should probably, from now on, maybe stop talking about, or at least stop re-explaining literally everything in these chapters from now on, because I'd say from like, this chapter onward, by now you probably know most people that are probably looking at this video probably know most of the stuff that's going on. It's just the very specific stuff on these fights that you have to deal with. So now we get to fight Theodore once again, and this one's a little bit easier than it was the first time. You don't have to do the second phase of this fight. You just mainly have to do the first phase. So the thing that you want to look out for is you want to look out for a very specific move. Every single move is very specific, yes, but there's one that we need to attack him during that he's doing. So when he does that first spin attack, he's going to continue doing that, multi-attack. That's when you want to keep dodging out of the way. Just try to, like, keep baiting him into specific attacks. The attack that you're really wanting to kind of go for is for that right there. That slam attack, after he does, like, that, like, he has a very specific way of telling it. But, yeah, once he does, like, a very specific move, right, like, right there, you want to attack him after he lands. Also, something else you want to attack him after is that grab right there. Make sure that you dodge twice. Always expect it to go for a second grab, because he was not going to do like a third one until like later. Actually, I don't know if he ever does get to a third one. But you want to dodge that grab attack 2 times and then start attacking him. But don't get too greedy, though. Make sure you go for like a few basic attacks. I'd say, if anything, maybe go for like double square into a triangle to maybe see if you can, get some nice, decent, heavy attacks in there. Regular triangles work too, but they kind of keep you stuck in an animation that would be kind of a little harder to get out of, and I kind of like to be personally on the safer side, so I just kind of just go for more like just light attacks. And right there, I think you can make it to where you don't take damage. I think you have to wait for the electrical stuff to kind of fend off or go away, but I'm impatient, so that happens. But yeah, you saw right there, I was charging UT, and I didn't really necessarily, I think I might have meant to actually, come to think of it. I think I meant to charge a UT, but those little bastards decided to make it to where they're going to go for a red attack, and then that's when I pretty much just initiated my Steel On Bone. So this chapter is kind of fun and also kind of dog shit at the same time, just for the sake of like having some fights that just go on for way too long, and this is one of them. And there's going to be a second one that goes on for even longer than this, but this is, I think, the first of the main two that are going to go, that are just going to stretch. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, there's going to be two. So as you can see, I run to that first corner, mainly to kind of just hide away from the rocket guys, and then just charge a UT and let it go for the heavy guys. And then, of course, you know, take out the basic lackeys like you pretty much always do. And by now, of course, you know, these guys are relatively simple. You either just bait out Steel On Bones or just, for the most part, go for regular easy combos or just UTs. It's no real big deal. These guys usually never give too much trouble. The only trouble that I can see them really truly giving is just being kind of just too many of them in one room. That's pretty much just about it. It's pretty much just going Ninja Gaiden 2 on here, but, you know, having the benefit of not making the game lag like shit. So, yeah, that's fine and dandy. And, of course, you know, they also are really good for, like, trying to build up, like, say, Bloody Rage. And that's something that you usually kind of want to end your goal of getting to, is usually just Bloody Rage. Getting Steel On Bones should be, for the most part, something you always want to try to go for. If you can, if you know that you can, then, you know, try to bait them out and go for them and get that healing back. And, of course, you know, on top of it, just basically just get free kills. Which, to an extent, that's what I like about this game, but at the same time, you know, it kind of, in some instances, can be a little bit overpowered, but it's not as overpowered as it was in vanilla, so it's kind of nice. Kind of nice to see it kind of get shrunk down. So here's another fight that does go on a bit long. I know I said there was two, but there's two main troublemakers, and this is not one of them, but this is definitely one of those ones that does go on for a bit longer than it should. So the reason why I used Nimpo there was mainly so I can get my health back. I'd recommend usually just saving your Nimpo for very specific fights, but as you can see, if I use my Nimpo now, then I should probably most likely build up enough for later when I actually do need it. So these heavy guys, of course, you know, triangle attacks break their guard, and that's usually why I go for that specific combo. And that's the one combo I end up doing quite often, and mainly, like, pretty much just all the time, is just because it just works for me. I don't really care too much about combos, because, like, let's be honest, this game does not reward you for combos anyway. It doesn't give a shit what you do. So, take that as you will. It's essentially in the same vein as, like, say, Dante's Inferno is, where you just don't get rewarded for combos, like, at all. You just kind of just do them, and they kind of happen. And speaking of Dante's Inferno, actually, since I have time, because most of these guys are just relatively easy enemies, you can kind of figure out this fight for the most part. But if you want some advice, I'd say, like, you know, if you ever get stuck, you can just run away, charge UT, and just let it loose, just to kind of, like, clear out a few more guys. And then, of course, you know, take out the jetpacks, you know, first, just so they get off your ass. And, you know, bait out Steel On Bones, like, you know, the same typical thing. Sorry, I'm running out of breath trying to just talk all the damn time. But, yeah, I have been actually playing through Dante's Inferno. I recently went through Hellish Mode on my account that I have now. Because I guess I, for some reason, either lost the save data or something. I don't know what happened, but I didn't have Infernal Mode unlocked, so I wanted to play Infernal Mode because I actually learned how to play it better. And yeah, for those that actually do watch my guides, that's something to kind of keep in mind as a little prize. Is I'm thinking about potentially doing Dante's Infernal difficulty. I was actually recording. I usually like to keep these things kind of hidden until the end of these videos, but right now I don't care. Ninja Gaiden 3 was more of like a huge surprise to kind of do, so I wanted to keep that as spoiler free. But I will say this: if I can't beat it, then I can't beat it, and then we'll just do a different guide. But for the most part, Dante's Inferno might be potentially planned for the next guide. That's kind of the idea I'm going on now. So for those that watch these videos, thanks, because this is something to kind of look forward to. But yeah, I've learned some new tricks with it, and I never beaten it before, so on Inferno, I mean. And yeah, so back to the guide, of course. Simple stuff, assassins, regular, lackeys. Once you come in this room, assassins spawn again. I just kind of run back to try to charge UT, but I messed up. That's fine. But just knowing that they're there kind of just saves you a lot of trouble. Because that's, for me, personally, a lot of things that makes Ninja Gaiden more of a puzzle fighter than it really is. I mean, it's still a hack and slash at heart, but I still feel like it has some puzzle elements to it in terms of specific fights. Is just knowing exactly, what enemies are coming from where and how, and how to defeat them properly in every situation. Granted, that's practically every game, I guess you could say, but still. Also, in recent news, I watched the Mario movie yesterday, and it was quite enjoyable. I'd say it's a pretty solid 7, 8 out of 10. It's not that bad of a movie, really. I mean, looking back on it now, yeah, it's a bit paced pretty fast, but still, I kind of enjoyed it. But anyway, this next area, we're going to be fighting snakes and gorillas. I'm just going to call them that from now on, because they're not actually called Chimera. There's a different version of that, but... So, gorillas, for those that didn't keep up with the last video, the way I take out gorillas, snakes specifically are kind of a little bit more weird, so gorillas are a little easier to kind of explain. As you see, what I'm doing right there is I'm basically just attacking him until he starts to block, and then after he decides to try to, push me off his block to try to go for a parry attack, I instead just dodge behind him, and right there, that was super lucky, by the way, but that's also really just badass. So, yeah, after they block your attacks and they knock you away and basically just, back you off their guard, that's when you want to dodge behind, because a lot of the time they'll end up trying to go for a red attack, and that's usually a good sign for, an SOB, of course. So take that what you will. Now, granted, the timing for it is very off and very janky and just very strange anyway. I mean, granted, it's a Ninja Gaiden game, so jank is basically the name of these fucking things, so that's just the typicalness of it. If you can't rely on SOBs, then, go for UTs. And if you can't rely on those, then, combo strong attacks are really good for these types of enemies. Now, there is a very particular weapon I'm going to buy eventually. And it's going to come quite in handy later. It has really great UT potential. And just really good against these types of, homunculus fiend type enemies anyway. And that's, of course, the Kusarigama. So... if you want to get the Kusarigama now and start using UTs on it, which, by the way, the UTs on the Kusarigama are insane. They are really, really good attacks. So, if you wanted to go for that, then that's absolutely something I also recommend. But, yeah, again, when it comes to the timing of the gorillas, I think the timing on it actually is more so you have to kind of wait a few seconds until after the glow has started. So, they'll break you off their guard, and then they'll glow for a second, and then after that you want to dodge away. It's pretty much a split second before they actually grab you with it. So yeah, once you come down here, we're on the poison trap. I decided to buy both level 1 and level 2. Yes, I could have bought in level 3, but I kind of wanted that extra damage, just in general. I don't think you get extra damage. I just kind of wanted those extra combos and just that extra UT charge, I should say specifically. That extra level 2 charge, just in the off chance, because for a spot right here, for example, that level 2 came in, really handy, and as you can see, it does quite wonders against a lot of these homunculus enemies, and this room kind of sucks dick in general, just because of the fact that, it's filled with poison. Also, sucking dick is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just, it's just a fun analogy to throw around. It sucks smegma-filled cock. How about that instead? We want to get a little bit more profane here. I might as well go for that, I guess. But then again, some people might actually like smegma. I'm not one of them, but So, ignoring all that, this is of course a I think it's called a Magna Fiend. Now, my tips and tricks with them, besides of course shooting with a bow first. That's pretty obvious. You got to get them on the ground. You might not have caught it because it was a bit quick, but for those that had a relatively keen eye and watching my dumbass. Go through this and basically stumble my way through this fight. Essentially, when it comes to Magna Fiends, to kind of explain it a little bit better in terms of what I do, is I do pretty much what I do the exact same thing to the gorilla types, where I just consistently keep an aggressive attack onto them. Whether it's light or heavies, it doesn't really matter. I kind of just run lights just to kind of be on the safer side so I can kind of just dodge out of the way faster. It just seems like it works, unless it's just my own psychology or my own psychosis just, you know, kicking in, thinking that that's true. But it seems to me like it works wonders every single time, so. But yeah, with them, you want to just consistently be offensive and attack them until they block and try to, like, you know, retaliate and push you off of them. And after they do that, you want to dodge to the side, usually to the right of them, and then you might not necessarily get a Steel on Bone to come out, but you know you could potentially get that to happen too, which is always nice. Also, drop down here and just charge UT with Kusari, or you know whatever weapon you have on hand that you prefer. Of course, I run Kusari just because it has nice AOE. That's pretty much what I'm doing. And yeah, so with the Magnafiends, again, the guys with the sides, just attack them until they block you off, and then you dodge to the side. You might get a Steel on Bone, you might not. Even if you don't, as long as you go to the side or at least behind them, eventually you can just do some nice damage and then get them basically stuck in a pattern. We'll see more of them later. So for those that are want to kind of keep up to how to defeat them specifically, that I defeat them with, just wait until like later chapters when we get to see more of them. But yeah, you saw how powerful that Kusari Gamma is. Just from a level 1 alone, it basically wiped out a gorilla. And level 2 right here just completely just de-limbed and like 100% wiped his ass out. Same thing I think with the other gorilla there too, and that one as well. A level 1 charged Kusari Gamma is just ridiculous. At least when I have a level 2 weapon in general, it seems. I don't remember if weapons get damage upgrades or not. I don't think they do. But just in the off chance that they happen to, that could be why, but still. So upon coming in this room, get the camera to turn, run back, and then immediately just go for a UT. And if you're like me and you can't land that UT, that's fine. You have more room you can get around to get to the other door to go for UT. But if you can't do that, then just start flailing around the Kusari. Because this weapon right here is just an absolute beast when it comes to just taking out enemies. It's ridiculous. It's really good. And it might seem a little bit weird at first to kind of get used to, especially if you haven't been playing with any other weapons like I have. Then, it takes a little bit of time to kind of just understand how it works. But for the most part, triangle attacks, like basically heavy attacks, are your go-to for this type of weapon. Going from a light attack into like other heavy attacks seems to work wonders almost every single time. So if this was, of course, the Vigorian Flail from Ninja Gaiden 2, then I would definitely say, this weapon absolutely works without Flail. That was bad. But anyway, so Steel on Bone snakes is a lot harder than it is when it comes to the gorillas, just because of the fact that they seem to not do it as much, and plus I'm not really good at manipulating them into doing it. And the other problem, too, is they're a lot more janky to hit. I feel like there's a lot more jank to it than there really is. So, I say jank, but you know what I mean. It's basically just understanding the timing and stuff. It's just kind of hard for me to figure out. But Kusari Gamma, level 1 UT charge just eliminates them anyway. So, for the most part, you can kind of just get away with that. But yeah, you see right there, when I did that UT charge, like I did before, or not UT charge, when I did that Steel on Bone attack, it just completely just misses. That seems to be a common case with these assholes, and I'm guessing at the very least it's probably just a timing-based mechanic. Because I feel like you pretty much just have to dodge at the right time and then go for Steel on Bone at the right time in order to get it correct. So if that's the case, that's fine. I don't give a shit either way because, I mean, let's be fair. You'll eventually just land a Steel on Bone or just kill them anyway. Because once you start learning these guys, they're not that hard. They're still hard. No, don't get me wrong. This game is still hard. But they're not that hard in comparison to what they used to be for me, at least. So, but then again, that just kind of comes with, learning and skill and all the other fun stuff. So, yeah, something else to be kind of careful of is when you kill homunculus, sometimes they can eventually just turn back into, like, a snake/gorilla. So, that's something to kind of keep in mind. I don't know if that's ever just an RNG thing or if that's just something that's specific. I think it's just something specific anyway, but if it's not, then I don't know. But yeah, that pretty much clears out that room. Now we have another room. While these guys are busy taking out the scientists, as horrible as that might sound. I mean, the guys do get away, or the enemies, or whoever goes to that elevator, the stormtroopers or whatever. Even though they get away or whatever, then, you know, still charge your UT and just get that nice drop-in bonus on just killing them. And then after you kill these two, you know, a couple more guys might spawn, and then just, of course, if you want to use my tactic, which, you know, you might consider very newbie or whatever, that's fine. But, you know, keep in mind, again, I'm not here to help out for making you an expert. I'm here to help you get through the game. Then, you know, use UTs with Gregorian Flail, because by now you should have enough karma, I would hope. If you've been saving it up properly and buying pretty much not a lot of upgrades, I don't care what upgrades you buy whatever you want, but, you know, I still would recommend using it just in case. This room can also work wonders with it too, but I ended up just going with the Dragon Sword because I'm not really that good at the Flail. I keep calling it the Flail, it's not the Flail, it's the Kusarigama. So yeah, this room, I just kind of went back for the Dragon Sword, just because I just felt more at home. But this is the second of two fights that I talked about earlier that I think are complete dog shit. And the reason why is just because of how much of these assholes you have to fight through. It's just ridiculous, man. It's just ridiculous. But again, Kusarigama does have great AoE, so if you wanted to go for Kusari UTs, you could also do that here to get some nice decent kills to potentially, you know, make the pace go faster. But do keep in mind that after you kill off these main lackeys, you will eventually have to fight the alchemist again, and that's never fun. So, I mean, wow, okay, sometimes it's kind of fun, not gonna lie. But just like with any other fight, I usually just kind of go for taking out the rocket guys first, if they happen to spawn in. And then, of course, you know, eventually these guys decide to spawn. I go for a basic, you know, level 2 charge UT and just consistently do that. It might be a bit boring for some, and I do apologize for that. I don't mean to bore people. I'm just specifically trying to be as efficient as I possibly can with these types of video guides. So that's what I kind of rely more on anyway. And luckily for me, I eventually got one into an OT stance, so that's always good. But speaking of alchemists, you know, just one final time I guess I should say, I'll probably repeat it in later videos anyway, because that's just what I'm known to do. Heavy attacks are great against them. So if you want to get them to possibly delim faster than me doing UTs, and if you feel more comfortable with it, then, you know, relying on heavy attacks could also potentially help too. And after a while, like, trust me, after a while of fighting these guys, you'll eventually learn them. They're very, very intimidating at first, but once you understand the mechanics behind them, about what makes them tick, then you'll be like, oh, that was simple as shit. And it's like, yeah, they really are. They really are. They're just super damn tanky. And that's like my main one gripe with these assholes, is just how tanky they really are. But it seems to, sometimes whenever I do heavies, you know, heavy combos and stuff, every once in a blue moon, I'm able to actually get one to essentially get into a delim state for an OT, so that does kind of happen. And the best time to start doing a heavy combo is whenever they have magic on their hands, you know, when they're basically blocking all of your light attacks, and then just go for that triangle attack. I don't know why I raise my eyebrows every time I say that. I just realized that, well, I mean, I've known that for a while, but as soon as I said those heavy attacks, I kind of did like that raise the eyebrows thing. Like I do it like, you know, 1-1, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know why I do that, but it's, yeah, I'm just weird like that, so. Yeah, but then after you take out the alchemists, you know, the rest is pretty much just, you know, lackeys at this point. And for the most part, should be two. Oh, I said at this point. Oh, I was fucking wrong. 2 Magna Fiends spawn. Never mind, these are not lackeys at all. I'd recommend taking them both down from, like, with the bow shot, and then go for a Nimpo if you have one, and just basically just obliterate the first guy to kind of just eliminate any potential, you know, pain or stress you might end up concurring from this. And then after you've taken down at least one of them, I think the rocket guy eventually spawns, so just shoot him in the ass. And then I wish I could have shown you guys better how to handle those guys, a lot better than what I did. But let's be fair, you know, it works out. Also, this part right here was really clean. I remember getting to this part and thinking, like, damn, you know, that was smooth, the way I just kind of transitioned from, like, that room straight into this guy, and then immediately into a UT just to cut down a couple of dudes. Just to break out into the goddamn, you know, red death section. So this is just another section, one of those. Technically, I could cut these out, but, you know, for your guys' own enjoyment, and I guess mine, because they're kind of fun to watch, I'll keep them in. I won't keep in the parts where you're just basically walking and talking, which is like 90% of Vanilla 3 anyway, so those definitely get cut out. But for the most part, these sections I'll leave in. Just, you know, people might need help with these, I don't know. So just in case, I could help you with that. Also, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Like, I feel like I started a topic but didn't finish it. I think it's the alchemists. So, if I had to finish that topic, yeah, basically when they're blocking your attacks, just go for heavy combos, and it seems to sometimes kind of, every once in a while, get them into a D-limb. But I feel like there's more to that. I'm forgetting something else I was bringing up. But that's what's hard about me in these damn guide videos. Is, sometimes I tend to forget things. Real quickly, actually, and I just move on from one topic to another because I'm just talking so damn fast. Especially with Ninja Gaiden, when, like, it's just, you know, a constant bout of stuff happening on screen. So I kind of like to just try to keep up in terms of commentary-wise. But, yeah, for the most part, I think we're about done with this section. I can tell because of my editing software right here now. It's telling me that, you know, there's a split coming up. So, as in that I did it. But speaking of editing, that's my least favorite part of these videos, by the way. For those that are curious, what my favorite parts of doing these things are, is clearly playing of the game. I think is a lot more fun. Rarely do I ever truly enjoy fully doing commentary. Not that I've ever, like, completely hated it. It depends on the game. Like, Dead Space commentary is starting to get a little bit lackluster. Some games were kind of like, I don't want to do commentary for this. But Ninja Gaiden I'm perfectly fine with. I love doing commentary for Ninja Gaiden. But it's my second favorite thing to do in terms of videos. My favorite thing to do is recording it. And my least favorite thing is editing. I pretty much just sit there, put my finger on the right, you know, key, and just scan through and slightly watch the video to see if there's any deaths, and then just split, cut, delete, whatever I need to, and then there you go. So, alright. I did cut out, you know, a walk section, that's fine. As wholesome as that part was, I mainly only left it in just for the sake of, you know, showing off the guys grabbing them. So this is the true Chimera I want to start talking about real quick. So this is the first real true Chimera we get to fight, and it's a boss fight, of course. And the tricks that I do with this is, it definitely shows up more in the second phase. But as you can see, I'm not only trying to bait out the Steel on Bone. That's typically something you kind of want to go for this particular fight in general. Is you definitely want to go for those Steel on Bone attacks. I'm trying to use the Kusarigama just to get at least some nice UT damage, but I find out relatively quickly that that's not the case. Now, in terms of damage, this thing is really weird because it has particular phases within its own phase. As in, you can only do so much damage until it eventually just stops doing damage, or at least does very minimal damage, and then you have to, like, continue doing, or you have to wait for it to, like, respawn new armed, and then you can do more damage again. Kind of like the T-Rex, but not exact. So, I typically, whenever the Chimera has its arms, just regular arms, you kind of want to wait for the slam attack, like the jumping slam attack. For the snake, you want to wait for it to do the spinning attack, and then after you block the spinning attack, go in and do some damage. For the gorilla arms are a lot easier than what they actually come out to seem like. They're only that hard to fight when there's multiple chimeras to take down. Of course, you know, you dodge here, go for some damage. But the moves that you want to be careful of, that you want to watch out for, and then go back in and retaliate with your own attacks, is, first of all, this combo right here. Just, you know, try to block it as best as you can and try to dodge it as fast as you can. And once you see, like, that two-handed punch, you're going to want to try to go behind the Chimera and then just, you know, hit it from behind or the side of whatever you happen to be on. Now, when it comes to regular arms, you know, like I said before, the attack that we're trying to basically get to bait out is that attack right there. And then after that attack has initiated, and after, you know, it's done that slam, it's in recovery, and that's when you can go in for some nice, good, easy, simple hits. For the gorilla arms, the charging forward attack, you can block it. It does still do damage, but, you know, you could block it, but just try to dodge out of the way the best you can, and then chase it down after it's finalized its attack. pretty much the entirety of the Chimera fight, boss fight in itself, is just all about waiting on recovery. And that's practically about it, really. So, yeah, wait for that slam attack for the grill arms as well. And then if you get the chance, you know, try to bait out an SOB the best you can. I believe they are dependent on health on this at this point, but sometimes they can just show up before, you know, the health drops to a certain point anyway. But, you know, a lot of the time, it typically is health-based, it seems. So, snake-wise, you know, they have, like, two very distinct attacks. Like, the poison attack, you can kind of just dodge under it and go straight for the Chimera. And, of course, there's also that whip attack there, too. That's the one that not only breaks your guard, but that's also, after it breaks your guard, that's also the one that you kind of want to just dodge toward the Chimera and go for combos. And that's typically how I end up taking out at least the Chimera boss fight. When it comes to actual Chimeras themselves, like the regular, you know, enemy variety of them, that's going to come much later. And I think Ayane is the first one that has to deal with their shit, so. Also, don't forget to avoid this part, you know, just be careful at the quick time event. I don't think they can kill you completely, but just keep in mind that that quick time event will show up. And then speaking of quick time events, we should be in cutscene. Yeah, we have a checkpoint by now, so even if you fail this, you should be fine. But pretty much just, you know, dodge out of the way from these homunculus. I'd say just do the slide dodge instead. Don't worry about trying to run around them. Just stick with slide dodges, and you should be good. So anyway, guys, that's the end of this day, and I'll see you guys next time. So as always, take care, everybody.